because now there's just one per county for the whole state to deal with, and it's working very well. We get, from Berkheimer, we get a distribution weekly on the EIT that's been collected for us. They take care of, if a taxpayer can show that there needed to be a refund for some reason, they pay the refunds, you know, we get all the backup documentation. But the state, now in its infinite wisdom, now that things are working very well and it's been happening for quite a while, the state would like to create an entity there within the state department or something, and they want all of the taxes to go to the state. And then the state will send us our money. Well, how long do you think that's going to take? So all of each of the tax collection committees, the TCCs throughout the state have been meeting. They've gone to Harrisburg, they've tried to talk to the legislators, and you know, I don't know how well it's being received because they would like the state to take this over. So recently, the Carbon County Tax Collection Committee did adopt this resolution that you have before you to send off to like Doyle Heffley, so that when the time comes to vote on this, to please vote against it. And we've been asking all of our member municipalities and school districts to present that to their governing boards and either create a resolution or an ordinance if you're to do the same thing. So if when you read this, and I've explained it appropriately, if you would think that that's something you would like the Lehighton School District to do, then we would come up with a resolution for the school district to then also adopt their own resolution to back this one and send it off to our representatives.
And I know from Wiseman Municipal where they had, back in the 90s, it would take you 2 years to get the money from. And so they
At least.
Yeah, and sometimes even, 4 or 5 years, you get a list of unpaid, is this yours or not yours? Right now, every year was it Act 1. Well, Megan knows that because she does the reports, the uncollected,
Yeah.
by December, at the end of the year, anyone's non-claimed, they send around the state, we go and we say they're ours, or we say, no, they're not ours, they
Right.
belong over here. And, that's like a 3-month process, but that was one of the things that going to this countywide system and revamping the system helped. Now it looks like the state wants to. And I hate to say it's probably because there's a lot of political pressure to have one company make a lot of money off it.
With the few companies that are participating, there's much, first of all, now you only have one per county from the whole state. Some of these companies, such as Berkheimer, Keystone Collections Group, happen to have several companies as their clients. So imagine the consolidation of these huge databases. It streamlines all the shipping of this, and it's made it so much easier after sitting for years. Because like you said, is this person ours or isn't it? Because it's the same address, same street name, and you don't know where it's really at. It's just made it so much better. So I know saying that, you think, oh, well, now there'd be only one, the state. But we know, dealing with the state, how long it takes. They've been reducing staff, and there's been much longer lead times for things. So I just can't imagine that this would be a more efficient system if it was at that level.
The district is allowed to make a swap between real estate tax to a larger income, earned income tax, correct? What's the new rule that they're allowed to do? Making a transfer within a school district? Are you familiar with it?
No, I know there's proposals, I didn't know there was actually a change. It used to be able to do.
Under the Homestead Act or
It
something?
used to be able to do, the homestead.
That's part of it, but then the other one was another earned income tax transfer.
Well, there's an earned income tax to,
That was, I think, rather than like the occupation tax.
Yeah.
Right.
The levy.
right,
Instead
Do what?
of state.
Have we looked at any of those options at all to take the burden off the homeowners?
Act 511, is that? Was that
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah, Act 511.
Yeah.
Act 511 taxes. My personal feeling, if you ever.
No, I don't want to hear, hold on. Let me just be clear. Do we collect the data before we created opinions? Did we ever go down this path and collect that data as to what we're allowed to do, what are our options, and then have a discussion, deliberation on experiences and other things after that?
I can answer that. That was all done before either you or I was here, and I know it's not been revisited since the
Okay.
initial, since that act.
But
came
to
up.
collect that data, would be relatively easy to do or difficult to do?
No, we break down at 511 taxes and earned income tax and
Right.
real estate tax and a budget every year.
Okay, yeah, we should look at that as a function of an option for funding things prior to just adding more of a burden onto this tax base.
Any feelings on backing the Carbon County Tax Collectors Resolution? Or
Feels appropriate. Again, it's pushing it off at the state level and then losing control over those funds come in. So to me, I don't have a problem backing that resolution.
Right.
why resolution backing the,
Yeah. I'm getting that, okay.
all right. Next thing, I gave you a proposal for Raptor Technologies. I was hoping to get in the first round of the state safety grants, but we didn't get the first round of the state safety grants. There's another round coming out in February. Raptor Technologies is a visitor management system. Basically, a person comes to the door, they give you the driver's license, you put it in a card reader. It checks the national database, not just the state database, to make sure they're not on a predator list or a domestic list or a list that they're not allowed to see the children. And as long as it's clear, it prints out a badge with the pictures, visitor, date and time. The system also, on the screen, when they're putting it in, it'll show if the name comes up as someone it may be, aliases, it'll show the picture if it has it for like, the Megan's Law people all have their pictures. And you can say no, 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 say if it's John Smith and there's 15 John Smith, you can go down, as long as the pictures aren't the same, you can override it. But at the same time, if it is a person, there's a button there they can call the police, call whomever, without you having to get the phone, you just hit the button, it does that. Megan sat through the webcast on it. What did you think about it?
I thought it was awesome, actually. I thought it was very interesting because as of right now, we just have a logbook. And for all we know, these people could be writing names that aren't true, but even if they are writing their own names, we aren't doing anything to check on who they are or anything like that because we just don't have the capabilities to do that. You can't really sit there and Google somebody's name while they're sitting right there. So I thought it would be a very good preventative measure for the safety of the kids here. I mean, do we have many cases? Well, we don't know because we don't know. So, in my opinion, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And I was very surprised actually to see the proposals and how inexpensive it was. I was expecting it to be a lot more than what it actually is. And you can do like custody things in there, like if a parent is not supposed to have custody of that child, you can tie that into that system. That way if a parent shows up and they scan their ID and they're not supposed to be there and having their kid, it's not just a Megan's Law thing or a warrant type of thing. You can tailor it to what are the needs of that child.
Now, what about someone who doesn't have a driver's license? Would they have to get a state ID or a
You can
real
type
ID?
the name and address in if you're.
You
that's
can
sometimes
do
I
that. I'm
You
thinking
can still
about
type
a
it in.
grandma who walks
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
you
But
know,
most
who walks
people
her.
that don't, they get a state ID.
Yes,
Even
most of them
Even if
do.
you turn your license
Yes.
in, you're not gonna drive
I know,
anymore.
yeah.
They automatically ask
Yeah.
you, would you like an ID? And they'll do that free of charge. I know I visited schools where, and I don't know what company they had, but they actually had kiosks out in the vestibule, like between the doors, and you would put it into the kiosk, so you didn't even get inside the door before that. You
Yeah.
put your driver's license in there,
Mhm.
and someone is on the inside that can see it, but it's even added there, no security there.
Yeah, well, I used it to go in and out of the country, global entry, and it does the same thing, so I can see where it works.
And I know there are people who would say, why spend the money if we haven't had any instances, but why wait until we have one? One instance is one instance too many, in my opinion.
Well, and the question I had immediately was, okay, well, they scan it once, every time you come in, does it recheck it? And it does. I mean, you're saved in the system, but it will rerun all of those
In case
searches
something
in
changed,
case
yeah.
something happened between the last time they were there.
Yeah,
And that was the first question I had. Well, it's great the first time, does it continue to do that? And it does. So I thought that it was very, I've never heard of anything like that. I guess I'm sheltered, but I thought it was very interesting.
How does the information, again, for child custody get entered into the system? Is it directly from the courts, or is it independently from the district?
You know what, I'm not exactly.
It's from the parent, they bring it in, we enter it in. So right now, we get the child custody, it's kept in paper at the office, but if someone's not there or doesn't remember, it could, most of the time it would, but if there's a child custody and a restraining from the other parent,
Sure.
they know about the office.
And then instead.
But if that changes, who monitors that update as well?
If that changes, the parent has to notify us.
So
I think
whoever
these
has
days, yeah,
more-
as you go to a-
Whoever has more rights will have a piece of paper, they show up at the office and say, hey, I got my rights back,
And
or
we,
vice versa.
I hate to say it, at least twice or 3 times a year, we have this custody battles going on.
Sure.
We bring the police in to,
Well, the police were concerned about this elementary center because you're focusing all of that custody issues associated with one department, whereas before it was spread out between others from a security
Most of the
standpoint.
stuff ends up to the middle school for some reason.
What's that?
Most of those end up at the middle school for some reason.
But that was a concern of one of the councilmen and an ex-police officer and
Right.
part of the police. I think it was Sue Holland's father brought it up as one of the concerns. I think he was on that task force committee.
Right.
Since we're a small area, I wonder if there's a way we can contract with the county or come to an agreement with the county